Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate against the bill.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As it's nearly encroaching upon 6:30 this evening, and we are debating going into debt another $300 million on a bill that was presented and introduced yesterday, I thought I would start my debate with the Constitution. Article 7, Section 11 says our state expenditures shall not exceed our appropriations. And then Article 8, Section 1 says the legislature shall not create any debts or liabilities unless it is submitted to and approved by the majority of Idaho voters. Debt overall is bad for Idaho. Our very own Republican platform in Section 5B talks about how we Republicans believe growth can be attained by holding down our taxes and refusing to grant excessive demands for increased spending. Spending beyond our means is bad for Idaho. This bill authorizes an increase in $300 million in debt, which is very problematic. The good representative from District 34 brought up the numbers on how much our Garvey debt currently is. And by adding this debt, we are increasing our debt on Garvey by 60%. Would any of us increase our own personal debt by 60% at 6:30 on the night before we want to sign you die? Idaho should not go into further debt to make these projects happen. It is fully within the legislature's scope to manage spending in a way that ensures investments in transportation are a priority and not the last item on the agenda. That is the true definition of fiscal responsibility. Our general fund spending has increased over the last several years faster than the general economy has grown. And this year's surplus of $140 million paired with the overspending of $100 million could have and should have been put to our roads and bridges, not simply allowed to be used to grow other sectors of our government. If this $300 million additional Garvey debt is approved, our total bonding authority for the state of Idaho, with all of our other purchases, the HP building, the INL, will exceed $1 billion just this year. It is apparent that there are definite needs in Idaho for highway construction and maintenance, repairs that are needed right now. In my district alone, that Shoshone County, Idaho County, and Clearwater County have all declared state disasters due to extreme flooding and landslides and avalanches. But this bill does not address these issues. As the good gentleman referenced a bill earlier, and I'm going to ask unanimous consent to reference Senate Bill 1141, Mr. Speaker.
Without objection? I believe that we've already, anyway, yeah.
Thank you.
The lady may reference 1141.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 1141 that this body passed earlier today will provide that money to help these counties with issues and emergency issues for roads and bridges right now. But when you look at this bill, our local highway districts and our local units of government will receive only a 2% increase with this bill. That seems small for what our local counties really need. And so what is the actual amount of money that our local counties will receive? It's not certain, because there's no way to measure it, because the people that decide how much money the counties are getting is a 7-member board, the ITD board, and they will decide. A 2%, very small increase per county, to me, does not justify this huge long-term debt. I believe Senate Bill 1206 is being falsely advertised as a means to fix and repair our roads after a historically rough winter. This year's winter and its effects on roads is being used as a false and perceived crisis to force our state into further indebtedness. Indebtedness that we will not, and cannot be used to repair and fix roads and bridges until 2018. If you look at the language of 1206, it's actually quite confusing. We'll start on section 1. Page 1, starting on line 24, it specifically says that this bill, 1206, approves a bonding authority to finance new construction of highway transportation projects that are already listed in section 4315 of Idaho Code. That's only 12 projects that this $300 million can help spend. And it specifically says on line 29 that monies may be expended only on the original corridors in that same section of those 12 projects. So page 1 says that can only be used on new projects. But on page 4 it says local districts. Page 4, line 36, says locals areas can use it for repair and maintenance of bridges. But they can't use that money until 2018. So my local counties that need that money right now are not going to get any of this $300 million. The details of this bill have not had adequate public input or a full discussion by all stakeholders. From its first reading in the Senate yesterday to this vote in the House today, there has not been adequate public input to discuss the details of this bill, such as how it will negatively impact school district building accounts, which are so important for my rural schools. Our buildings need every extra penny that they can get. This will modify the sales tax distribution and will end up ultimately using the cigarette tax. This bill is unclear about how much money will be used to repair our roads versus how much will be spent on new construction projects, which are primarily aimed toward highly populated areas where there's congestion. I believe Idahoans want integrity when it comes to spending. And this bill adds to our dependence on federal dollars. And I believe less dependence on a federal government is better for Idaho, and it leads to more freedom for Idahoans. And I believe that Idaho can work toward fiscal responsibility without being forced into bad last-minute spending deals. This bill is bad for Idaho, and we can do better.